If you spend enough time in Christian circles, you will eventually hear someone say something like this: why do we need theology? Isn't it enough to just love Jesus? Or sometimes people say it in a slightly different way: doctrines divide. What really matters is love. Now, at first glance, that sounds humble, right? It sounds spiritual. It sounds like someone who wants to focus on what truly matters. But here's the problem: the moment someone says something about God, or something about Jesus, or about the Bible, or about salvation, they are already doing theology. So the question is not whether we have theology. The real question is whether our theology is good theology or bad theology. Because theology simply means thinking about God. It's the attempt to understand who God is, what He has done, and what it means to live in His world. So every Christian has theology. And some people just have it without realizing it. Now, here's why this matters so much. Bad theology doesn't stay in books. Bad theology eventually shapes lives. It shapes the way people understand God. It shapes the way they read the Bible. It shapes the way they make decisions. And over time, bad theology almost always produces shallow faith or confusion, and sometimes even cultural compromise. Let me give you just a few examples. If someone believes that God only exists to make them happy, you see, their entire life, their entire spiritual life will be built around personal fulfillment. And the moment life becomes difficult, their faith will begin to collapse. Because the God they believed in was never the God the Bible describes. Or consider another example. If someone believes that Christianity is mainly about being a good person, they will slowly turn the gospel into moral self-improvement. You see, grace disappears. The cross becomes less central. And the Christian life becomes exhausting because it turns into an endless effort to prove your worth. Or consider how theology shapes the way we engage culture. You see, if Christians, for example, lose clarity about what the Bible teaches about human nature, or morality, or truth, they often begin to adopt the assumptions of the surrounding culture without even noticing it. And ideas about identity, purpose, and meaning begin to shift, not because scripture changed, but because theology was never deeply understood in the first place. So this is why theology has always mattered in the life of the church. From the very beginning, Christians were forced to think carefully about what they believed. Who is Jesus? Is He merely a teacher? Or is He truly the Son of God? What does salvation actually mean? What does it mean that God is a Trinity? What does it mean that we are justified by grace? You see, these are not abstract debates. They were attempts to protect the heart of the Christian message. Because once those truths are lost, the entire structure of the faith begins to collapse. And this is why throughout history, the church has produced creeds and confessions and theological reflection, not because Christians love arguments, but because clarity protects the gospel. Now, sometimes people hear the word theology and imagine something cold, something academic, something that belongs to in a seminary classroom, but has little to do with real life. But you see, historically, the opposite has often been true. Some of the deepest theological thinkers were also pastors and missionaries, people deeply engaged with the world. Because good theology is not just about information, it's about seeing reality clearly. Good theology helps us understand who God is. It helps us understand who we are. It helps us understand the world we are living in. Think about some of the biggest questions people wrestle with today. Why does suffering exist? What does it mean to be human? Where does moral responsibility come from? What's the purpose of life? You see, these are not merely philosophical questions, they are theological questions. And if Christians don't think carefully about them, someone else will. The surrounding culture will offer its own answers. And those answers will eventually shape the way people live. And this is why serious theology is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Not because every Christian needs to become a professional theologian, but because every Christian needs a deeper and clear understanding of the faith they profess. So the goal of theology is not to win academic arguments. The goal of theology is to know God more clearly and live faithfully in His world. And when theology is healthy, something beautiful happens. You see, faith becomes deeper. The Bible becomes richer. The gospel becomes clearer. And Christians become more equipped to navigate the challenges of modern life. And that's part of the reason this channel here exists. Because thoughtful Christianity has never been more important. We live in a time when ideas move quickly, when cultural assumptions shift so fast, when many believers feel intellectually unprepared to explain what they believe or why it matters. But the Christian faith has always had a deep intellectual tradition. You see, for 2,000 years, believers have wrestled with scripture and philosophy and culture and the biggest questions of human existence. And that tradition is not something that belongs only to scholars. It belongs to the church. It belongs to ordinary Christians who want to think clearly, live faithfully, and understand their faith more deeply. So if you have ever felt that tension, if you have ever wanted a deeper understanding of Christianity than just surface level answers, then theology matters. And not because it makes us proud, but theology matters because it helps us see God and the world and ourselves more clearly. And in the videos ahead in this channel, we are going to continue exploring the ideas, questions, challenges that shape the Christian life in the modern world. Because thoughtful faith has never been more needed than it is today. So if you want to think more deeply about faith, scripture, and life in the modern world, consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless you.